attack on Fallujah. Thousands of American forces attack Iraqi rebels on the ground and from the air tonight. The mission, the end game, the risks. Gay marriage. The election behind him, the president backs a constitutional amendment banning gay marriage. How hard will he press that fight? Lifeline. This week, our Women's Health Series. Tonight, a vaccine that could protect against cervical cancer. And a fish story that is scaring scientists. Fish with male and female characteristics and concerns about what that could mean about our drinking water.
From NBC News World Headquarters in New York, this is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw.
Good evening. It is the largest single military offensive in more than a year in Iraq and the most critical. Under heavy fire, more than 15,000 American forces and Iraqi units as well are moving slowly into Fallujah, the Sunni city which has been a major sanctuary for insurgents for months now. The American air bombardment to soften up the targets has been heavy, ground fighting sporadic, and the worst is expected once the troops move deeper into the heart of the city. Fallujah is in the heart of the so-called Sunni Triangle, and for months, Iraqi officials have pleaded with residents there to kick the insurgents out. But now, time has run out. NBC's Richard Engel begins from Baghdad tonight.
The full weight of some 4,000 U.S. and Iraqi troops bore down on Fallujah today. U.S. Marines fighting from doorways, rarely seeing the insurgents shooting back from behind heaps of rubble. The day began with a buildup, creating a formidable battle line. The Marines were anxious.
Just ready to go in there and get it over with.
The troops dug in and set mortars. But the insurgents fired mortars too, all day long.
They know we're here dropping mortars on us, continuing changing our location so they can't get one directly on us.
Iraq's interim Prime Minister Ayad Alawi says the offensive is necessary to secure the country before elections in January. Today he visited Iraqi troops in Fallujah, psyching them up. So far, commanders say the battle has gone according to schedule. It began last night. Marines and Iraqi commandos crossed the Euphrates River, taking control of 2 bridges and a hospital. Today, Marines and soldiers encircled Fallujah, then invaded insurgent strongholds in the Askari and Jolan districts in the northeast and west, and then seized the train station. In all, up to 15...
Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld today characterized the fighting as the coalition forces assisting Iraqi troops, but the fact is American units in number and position are the brawn and the brains in this operation. NBC's Jim Miklashevsky tonight from the Pentagon.
U.S. Marines stormed Fallujah so well telegraphed in advance. Military officials fear their #1 target has already fled. Intelligence reports indicate news, the Pentagon.
Now to another embattled part of the Middle East and what has been called the imminent death of Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat. There's a new power struggle underway involving Mrs. Arafat. NBC's Brian Williams is in Tel Aviv again for us tonight. Brian, what's going on there within the family?
Well, Tom, newspaper columnists in this area are already making fun of this as a parody, as a kind of Middle Eastern soap opera involving the mystery illness, the dying man, the overly protective wife, and now tonight the health update that sounded a lot more like a warning to stay away from the hospital. This was the latest news out of Paris tonight on Yasser Arafat. Never visited, but that only explains a portion of the resentment that welled up in this area after her comments aired on Al Jazeera. Fans say $1 billion is the future of the Palestinian people and a whole lot of concerned Israelis here in this city and elsewhere. Tom?
Thanks very much, NBC's Brian Williams tonight. Now to politics here at home, and in this first full week after President Bush's re-election, the question of what happens now with a possible constitutional amendment banning gay marriage. NBC's David Gregory has that story.
And legally married.
The president put a ban on gay marriage at the... That they are still short of the necessary votes in Congress to push the ban again. And
one more note on the administration tonight. White House Chief of Staff Andrew Card will stay on in his job in the second Bush term as it gets underway. There had been speculation that Card may be moving to a cabinet post after the president's re-election, but a spokesman said today that Andrew Card had been asked to stay in his current post as White House Chief of Staff, and he has accepted. Up next, NBC News in depth tonight. The dubious past of Iraq's #2 man at the UN. Why some in his home country called him a Saddam wannabe. And later, a new vaccine that could head off cervical cancer before it starts. A promising development for women's health. NBC News in depth tonight. More on the new Iraq. NBC News has learned some intriguing information about the second in command at the Iraqi mission to the United Nations in New York. He's a former top official with the Iraqi police. And as senior investigative correspondent Lisa Myers reports now, before he became a diplomat, he was under investigation in Iraq for allegations of abuse and corruption.
Meet General Ahmed Ibrahim, former head of the Baghdad police and a favorite of U.S. authorities. Tough, passionate about tracking down insurgents.
We catch the terrorists, we catch the criminal, and we do a big job to control everything and the people happy.
Today, Ahmed is in New York, Iraq's #2 man at the United Nations. But two Americans who worked closely with the Iraqi police tell NBC News of troubling allegations against Ahmed.
Iraqis were calling him Little Saddam or a Saddam wannabe.
Chief Warrant Officer Paul Holton, an intelligence specialist in Iraq, investigates Washington.
Still ahead tonight, freshwater fish turning up with scary deformities. Is it something in the water? Yes. It looks like the jury in the Scott Peterson murder case in California is having trouble coming to a verdict. This is the fourth day of deliberations, and today the judge lectured the jury on keeping an open mind and then ordered it to resume deliberations. On Lifeline tonight, the first drug designed for a specific ethnic group, a pill for black patients with heart failure, reportedly is showing great promise. The drug is called Bidil. Research released today shows that it decreased the death rate for African Americans with heart failure by 43% after 1 year. Still, the drug has been controversial. Some say it works just as well in whites and question whether it is proper to market and test a drug for any one group of patients. Now to our series on women's health this week. Over the course of this week, we'll be looking at various breakthroughs. Tonight, new hope for preventing cervical cancer, not just with early detection, but now with a still new and experimental vaccine. Here's NBC's chief science correspondent, Robert Bazell.
We're going to do your pelvic exam now.
Even though the Pap smear has reduced the rate of cervical cancer and 4,000 die of it, and that is just in the U.S.
Across the woman's sexually transmitted virus called...
On Wall Street today, stocks barely budged after last week's big gains. The Dow was up almost 4 points at the end of the day. NASDAQ gained a fraction of a point. I'll be right back.
NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw, brought to you in part by Aflac. Ask about it at work.
NBC Tonight. In the American West, one of the many glories of nature are the fisheries, those mountain streams that are home to a variety of trout and other species of freshwater fish. They're also a precious barometer of the health of the environment, and as NBC's Tom Costello reports tonight, there is very unsettling evidence of something terribly wrong.
In Colorado's rivers and streams, a waist deep, there's too much estrogen in the water, the natural female hormone that is found in every sewer system. But in addition, certain chemical compounds in detergents and soaps can mimic estrogen. Costello, NBC News, Boulder, Colorado.
That's nightly news for this Monday night. I'm Tom Brokaw. I'll see you back here tomorrow night. Changing of the guard. John Ashcroft out as Attorney General. Also, Don Evans as Secretary of Commerce.